be fearless and say the right thing without fear. Guru Nanak's key messages to us are as follows. There is one God for all creation, and the loving Creator can be attained through the grace. Seek the core of your faith and don't get caught in mindless rituals. Absolute equality of humanity. Living a moral, truthful, and hardworking existence. Selfless service towards the entire creation. Humility and loving action. And defending the rights of downtrodden and oppressed. Although we call ourselves Guru's Sikhs, I think that we are far from following his teachings. We are still stuck in the same rut of hate that we were in when Guru Nanak appeared on this earth. We say that we love the Creator, but do we also love his creation? Do we see him in everyone and everything? If we did, we would love everyone. If we could just learn to do the simple deed, I feel that all the other key messages will become part of our lives on their own. Ajvair virodha tel, khoda laya kalka. Neta pago ban gayi, lalo tite bula. Sikh, Hindu, Muslim vande, vanke sakhe veer. Dharti tukre ho gayi, vande nadi de neer. Oye dard gada te dardiya, naam da chatta varsa. Vaiguru naam jupake, sanu sach te kere pa. Vaiguru ji ka khasa, Vaiguru ji.
Moving to the last group, Group 5, and the book that they had to read is called The Singh Sabha Movement by the Sikh Missionary College in Ludhiana, and the time allotted is 8 minutes. And the first question asks, discuss the circumstances that led to the development of the Singh Sabha movement. What hurdles did the movement encounter and how were they overcome? Second question, which persons or institutions exerted the most positive influence on the movement, and which ones exerted the most negative influence? In each case, what were the strategies employed by them, and to what extent did the leaders of the movement succeed in their mission, and how? The last question. Compare the current state of Sikh affairs to the state Sikh affairs that led the Singh Sabha movement. Comment on why we keep committing the same mistakes over and over again. Propose measures that can be taken to resolve some serious issues in the state of Sikh affairs today. The first speaker is Simran Singh.
According to Barbara Wu, when the Japanese meant broken objects, they aggregized the damage by filling the cracks with gold. They believe that when something suffered damage and has a history, it becomes more beautiful. The Singh Sabha movement filled gold into the cracks that had formed Sikh society. After Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Sikhism fell into decay, disarray, and degeneration. The mission of the Sikh Sabha movement was to overcome the problems that were crippling Sikh society, and in the process was able to reinforce the foundation of Sikhism. Through literature, centers of learning, and preaching, the movement not only alleviated the problems afflicting an adulterated society, it also ensured that the future generations would be able to learn and improve based on ideals and practices set forth in this era. Foreign influence and other religions were problematic to the success of the movement. The British actively opened an increasing number of churches, and Hindus and Muslims created their own institutions with the purpose of cultivating one mindset. Missionaries and Arya Samadhis became blatant enemies to the cause of the Singh Sabha movement. Even more important were the internal issues that had to be surmounted. There are 3 components to a community. The first is organization, such as a government. The second is communication, or language and literature. The third is ideology, or religion, all 3 of which have to be improved. After Maharaja Ranjit Singh, different reform movements emerged, such as the Nirankari and the Namkari movement, but the most successful was the Singh Sabha. However, all 3 of these movements were plagued by dissent and factions. For example, Singh Sabha Lahore was progressive, while Singh Sabha Amritsar was equally regressive. Singh Sabha Amritsar had much less patriotic fervor than Lahore. The 3 founders of the Singh Sabha movement, Sardar Thakur Singh, Kanwar Bikram Singh, and Baba Khem Singh, did not hold identical ideologies and views on many matters, causing inefficiency in the execution of much-needed reforms. Communication was hindered because of widespread illiteracy. As Sir Richard Temple observed, Sikhism is on the decline, a spent force. The Sikhs are the most uneducated people in Punjab. This made the Sikhs vulnerable to the influence of Christians and Hindus, and it inhibited the unity and single-minded approach necessary to maintain Sikhism as a force to be reckoned with. Many people wore the facade of Sikhism, when in reality they held Hindu beliefs and practiced Hindu rituals. The Gurdwaras were no longer beneficial, for they were used against Sikhism through practices such as smoking, idol worship, and even prohibiting the lower caste from entering. Einstein said, "In the middle of every difficulty lies an opportunity, a concept that is embodied by the Sikh movement. To solve more than one of the aforementioned problems, the movement created the Khalsa College and other centers of higher education, which increased literacy and taught Sikh values and established and reinforced correct practices." The Khalsa and other newspapers that were also circulated helped literacy and knowledge reach the masses and fostered a sense of unity long lost in the Sikh population. Gyani Pit Singh, the editor of the Khalsa commented on the future of the Sikhs at the time. "Just as we do not see any Buddhists in the country except in images, in the same fashion, the Sikhs will be seen only in pictures in museums." Gyani Pit Singh Ji and Bhai Jwara Singh Ji became popular because of the devotion to Sikhism. Gyani Pit Singh wrote over 25 books about Sikh ideology and history. Bhai Kan Singh Nabha, a prominent scholar, wrote various books on Sikhism, his most notable works being Mahan Kosh and Hum Hindu Nahi. Bhai Bir Singh founded the Khalsa Tract Society, which focused on conversions into Sikhism. He contributed to Sikh thought and instilled faith in traditions by writing various books, such as Sumri. He also explained Gurbani in his weekly paper, the Khalsa Samachar. During this time, the Guru Granth Sahib was also translated into English, making it even more accessible. This fight against illiteracy was the cornerstone of the Sikh Sabha movement. As Henry Steele Commodore said, "Education is essential to change, for education creates both new wants and the ability to satisfy them." Sikhi goes a step further. Guruji says, "Gyan ka badla man hai, gur bin gyan na hoye." This progress would not have been possible without Baba Khem Singh, Sardar Thakar Singh, Gyani Gyan Singh, and Ganvi Bikram Singh, who were instrumental in creating the first Sikh Sabha movement. Bhai Gurmukh Singh, a professor who emphasized the importance of learning Punjabi, revived Sikh Sabha in Lahore and even gained the moral and financial support of the government. Institutions, mainly the Sikh Sabha Lahore, Sikh Sabha Amritsar, Khalsa Diwan, and the Khalsa College, also made great progress. However, some of these same institutions later proved to be regressing in their views and practices. The clash between Sikh Sabha Lahore and Sikh Sabha Amritsar is one that the world has seen before. It is essentially orthodox versus popular, the elite versus the masses, Dat Khalsa versus Sanatan beliefs. The Dat Khalsa, led by Bhai Gurmukh Singh, was a major component of the Sikh Sabha Lahore. It called for radical change, and its views of the world was textual, impersonal, progressive, and modern. The Sanatan Sikhs were mainly situated in Sikh Sabha Amritsar and were led by Baba Khem Singh Bedri. The Sanatan worldview was oral, personal, diverse, and relied upon past traditions. They supported the continuation of human gurus and believed that Sikhism was an offshoot of Hinduism. Even though each Sikh Sabha was effective in propagating change within their respective spheres of influence, the cooperation that was necessary for a Bantic revolution was never realized. The schism of the two Sikh Sabhas called for the creation of an intermediary. Thus, the Khalsa Diwan was born. The president of the Diwan was Baba Khem Singh, and the chief secretary was Bhai Gurmukh Singh. The Diwan opened Khalsa schools and circulated papers and periodicals to propagate Sikh Sabha ideology, as well as its religious activities. However, the same contentions that caused strife among the Sikh Sabhas also infiltrated the Khalsa Diwan, rendering it ineffective. The excommunication of Bhai Gurmukh Singh Ji is evidence to the people and institutions that further hindered the Sikh Sabha movement because of issues that were sometimes in direct conflict with the principles of Sikhi. After a display of elitism by Baba Khem Singh, as well as other descendants of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Bhai Gurmukh Singh became outspoken against them, eventually leading to a series of false charges and eventual excommunication. This shows the corruption that plagued such institutions such as the Khalsa Diwan, and the true priorities of its members were concerned about more materialistic things. An editorial in the Khalsa Advocate described Sikhism thus: false gurus grew up in great abundance, whose only business was to pamper their own self-aggrandizement. There was no Sikhism. Belief in the gurus was gone. The idea of brotherhood in the Bant was discarded. The title of Bhai fell into disuse and contempt. Sikhs groveled in superstition and idolatry. This is quantumly accurate about the situation today as well. We still use the caste system, and different factions have emerged or are unwilling to cooperate for the betterment of the community as a whole. The leadership now is as corrupt, as inept, and as depraved as it was then, a situation we especially see today concerning current political and religious matters, such as regarding Professor Darshan Singh. Reforms were effective, and the people don't want to face the issues as a united, single-minded, and efficient community. The problem is materialism. We want money, power, influence, and success, and Sikhism is no longer a priority. We have too much pride to admit to a problem and then fix it, especially if our political and economic status suffers. Some of us are